We are live, folks. This is the Runners in the Shadows AP. We're going to play a game of my creation called Runners. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the cast. We've got myself, the author, and then we'll start with Emerald. The purpose of playing Emerald today.
Hi, I'm Xalkyrie. I am a Canadian. Sorry. I stream a lot of RP related content on my own channel as well. Usually a lot of Red Dead modded RP, but getting branching into other things as well as hosting my own tabletop. And I'm excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you because you're also a fellow streamer. That's great. All right, let's talk about the person playing Grinds.
Hey, I am Greyorm or Raven, whatever. I've been playing since the early 80s. Haven't done a gaming stream before. Really excited to do this. Should be exceptionally fun. I love the whole Shadowrun vibe thing. I'm an author, both game related. I've done some products for other people and my own RPGs, and just recently published a novel. So that's where I'm at. All right.
Nice. Yeah, forgot to mention that we're all grown-yards. You know, we're all pretty much old fans of cyberpunk fiction. We've been like Shadowrun players, each one of us. We've also probably played other cyberpunk works of various ilk through our many years of loving this genre. And perhaps one of my oldest players and best examples of that would be the last player.
Hi, I'm Scraigon. Born and raised Northern California, Humboldt County. I'm an IT nerd myself. I've been playing tabletop since the early 90s. All sorts of genres, but future fantasy is like my fave.
Yeah, I'm in good company today. I've got all these great storied players here, and that excites me because I imagine you have a lot to say about what the near future will look like and what a fantasy future might look like if we threw in a bunch of crazy D&D species and things like that, which is the case in our game. One of the things that we started deciding early on was about some of the fictional constraints that we were going to go with, and yeah, we're definitely using the fantasy races in addition to all the magical goodness. So that will be exciting. We have a couple players as well that are dipping into that. One thing I like to do when I start off a game of Runners is kind of prep everyone for what we're about to do, which is not just play a game, right? Like, we're also going to say something about criminal fiction. We're going to say something about the future too, right? Like where we think things are headed. If I guess evil triumphs, right? This was a world that's bleak. There are big mega corporations towering over us from their boardrooms with sleek black glass preventing sight inside. And that is very contrasted with the streets with neon lights, with advertisements just flickering nonstop, and sewer smoke coming out of the grates, and probably someone homeless rolling in a pile of trash nearby while rich people walk by with their fine heels or nice black slack shoes or whatever. You know, there's the rich as right alongside the poor in the city. So we get to say something about what that looks like when you're on the bottom end of that totem pole trying to fight your way up. And I think that's something that a lot of us can, understand and empathize with. So that's kind of setting the stage a little bit for where I'm headed with this game, because I want to be kind of like, one of the things that I put forward as a GM2 is how hard I'm going to be. And I'm going to be pretty hard in this series because consequences need to be immediate for them to really matter. And if they're not immediate, it can be fun, but I like immediate stuff, and especially in a shorter series like this. So we'll be doing things like consequences might hit without a clock. You know, somebody might die in one exchange. You know, with a violent exchange where it's desperate and you're already taking serious harm, and something could go wrong right there. You could lose your life. We're not going to throw a clock on when somebody comes to take it. So that's it. That's an interesting thing to talk about, is where this crew is kind of founded around, right? So each of you is a runner in the shadows. So the shadows being everything that's not brightly lit by the lights of cameras and the rich and novelty and things like that. You're the wage slaves that refuse to be that, right? Or the ones that used to have a great life and lost it. There's something that makes you on this path of being a runner. So I kind of want to give the audience a feel for your characters, right? Let's introduce them now. We'll do the same order, I guess. We'll go with Zal, you first. We'll talk about your character.
So I play Emerald. She is a 18-year-old young lady with green hair. She is essentially like a former noble, or maybe again, the term noble is kind of loose here because it's probably like related to business execs in a way. But she had a drastic fall from grace when she got involved with an AI. I'm terrible with names. Where's my character sheet? Oh, it's over here. Traveler. That's what I was gonna say, like passenger. Sorry. Traveler. Got involved with Traveler. It showed her emergent power and basically tempted her with it. She took the bait, wanted to get more into it, and it kind of consumed her into a dangerous position that her rival ended up kind of compromising her, a jealous rival who wanted Traveler. And she got into a lot of trouble because of it. It was centered around some nondescript relic. And she got into a lot of trouble, ended up basically being kicked out of the family and therefore out of all the power, wealth, and connections that came with it. And she's now ended up on the streets trying to get back to nobility, and trying to deal with like being obsessed with all this new power and this new horizon that she can also deal with too, because there's all this emergent stuff. And that's Emerald.
Right, and Traveler is going to come back up because they're one of your friends. They're on your list. They're marked as a close one, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to explore that relationship. Let's move on to Grimes. Tell us about your character, where they're from, and kind of what the
Grimes
about.
is yeah, Grimes is a or Grind, sorry, is a he's a troll. He grew up in a privileged position. His parents are both human. He became trollish later in life and suffered a whole lot of abandonment by his former friends from that. He's from Jamestown. He still and he walked away from the whole corporate life with Emerald. They were both involved in this situation, and he decided that that things were morally not right with what was going on, but he still dresses the part. He's this huge troll in this very nicely tailored suit and the horns, the whole deal. The carbuncles on his skin, and he has a perfect manicure. However, and he likes visiting luxury spas when he can. So he doesn't want it, but he still plays the part.
Right. And I want to say that like that's part of probably what you're doing. Maybe when you reintroduce your character is like looking at your manicure or something.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, like the opening scene in the TV show is like you're gonna be each of your characters. So I'm getting an idea for what I'm gonna narrate here. All right, let's go on to you, Scraigon.
I am playing Hammer. Hammer is a newcomer to Kingston, as he originally comes from Olympia in Washington, where he went by his given name, Potato. He was born to a litter of 5, and he was raised in the streets, and he ran in a gang called the Bargists. It was run by his friends and cousins. Now, Potato had been told he had the gift, and he needed training to learn about his magic. But unable to afford his formal training, he sought out self-awakening, reading about others online. And ultimately, that culminated in tattooing his body, which helped him open his key. And that helped him focus his energies. And that's when he awakened as an adept. Now, the Bargus came into trouble and got marked by a rival gang. And while Potato survived the attack, but I'd lost friends and family in the fight. And so left Olympia and ended up coming up to Kingston using the new name Hammer.
Yeah, so Hammer, the adept, rounds out our crew of different individuals. Humans are the norm. They're probably like a 90% or greater number of humans. We decided that these strange lineages would be sort of rare, and sort of frowned upon as well. Maybe they're more. Maybe they're starting. The numbers are swelling. Maybe it's not 10%. Maybe it's more like 25. You know, but they're still the minority. So one of the ways that people lord over you is by showing their power and influence, and humans sometimes have more of that. You know, just because of their easier upbringing, they actually do get some benefits as well. None of you are human, right? Like even like
I am human. Actually, Hammer is human.
Oh, you are human.
Hammer is human. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was born to an orc mother.
That's where you got me. Okay, right. And so,
All right.
You're born to a litter of
mother, it
5.
may not. You may not necessarily be an orc. You could remain human, normal. Like everyone's human when they're born, basically, and they transform through this magical, transformation. Rather painful for some. But so you got orc blood, but you're not orc. You're not orcsy yet.
Yep. Mm. So that's
Can
not
you
how
tell
I
that
ended
you're
up.
orc-blooded at all? Or like, is there any remnant of your parents' orkiness?
I would say none at all.
Yeah,
I don't. I
yeah.
even stand out from my siblings.
Yeah, the family pics are kind of awkward because they had a transformation and you didn't.
Right. So, like, I think 2 of them were born orc, and then the other 2 did transform, but I never did.
Cool. Okay, so you're like the odd one out.
I was the odd one out in my fam. Yeah. Now I do have 2 friends, or I have a close friend and a rival here in Kingston. In my short time here, have managed to stir up some things.
But we'll be sure to get to that. Yeah, so we already built our crew. So the audience, you get to see what happens after you've met the characters. They're already been developed. We've come up with a crew though, so we should talk about that. we're kind of recap so that you're up to speed a little bit of that, and I will show what I can of that to the stream as we're talking about it. We have a Roll20 page as well. So I think the first thing we'll talk about is which crew we are. You're going to play the Radicals crew, and you decided that that was best because you got something you want to say. You want to be that change you want to see in the world. There's problems in Kingston with the use of magic. It seems to have a lot of consequences here because perhaps it has something to do with the several thousand people that perished in the harbor. Kingston, Jamaica has in real life, has a harbor called Port Royal. And this area, there was a massive earthquake, and it caused a bunch of land to slide into the ocean, and people perished in that, several thousand. And this occurred again in the fictional setting, and more people lost their lives. And that led to quite the worst haunting that you can think of in a magically awakened world. The boats that come in, they hire magical security to keep boat ghosts at bay, or even remnants of fallen machines and things, because it seems to have the magical activeness of the area is it's overwhelmed the barriers that separate our two worlds, like the afterlife, whatever that may be, and the living. So yeah, it's kind of bad in Port Royal, but just a hop, skip, and a jump away from that is the city of Kingston proper. Port Royal is basically condemned. It's got an airport there. I think that might be a good opening shot, because Kingston, not everyone's really seen it, but let's just say it's nighttime. You see the darkened sky of the darkened air above, and we pan down, and we see that kind of brighten up a little as the atmospheric light from the city comes into view. But what we first see is the edge of an air control tower that's completely empty, and the lights are off, and we can barely see the runways, and they're covered with grass, and there's just an eerie stillness, an eerie calm, and then a strike of lightning, and then we can see the ocean just beyond the edge of the airport's yard, and the ocean is lit up by swarming shapes of sort of person-like figures. Some of them have what looks like an arm and a head, but then there's missing parts here, or some of them don't have heads. Or some of them are just bloated and gross looking, and they're ethereal, spirit-like beings reaching out from under the water. And then the camera just zooms past that towards the city, where we see boats docked up, pulling into the harbor of Kingston Bay. And there are these plastic palm trees kind of swaying in the breeze. They're sort of illuminated by the flickering glare of advertisements in the distance. We can see the slick glare of that plastic, and we can hear music coming from various sources in the street, and we go down this long avenue towards an office building, and inside the office building we pass through the exterior wall, and an abandoned office where there's just a drone in it, right? It's like nighttime. There's no workers here. And we go through to the back rooms. And there we see well, perhaps all three of your runners, but at least one or two of you. You've got an interesting item in hand. That's a silver cane, some kind of like it looks like not the full length of a normal cane. It's about no longer than your forearm. And the interesting thing about that is it has like a scale pattern on the cane. And you also know where you recovered this item from a previous run that your characters went on. And you know this item is the paint. It's the recovery that you were supposed to get for your run, and you have the opportunity now to decide to do something with it, because as you realize what you have, you may not want to tip it over to your employer, which in this case, your employer. I guess we could do like a flash cut to like the face. It's like a woman in a business suit, and she's got like mocha skin and freckles. And she's got sunglasses on inside, and she kind of has like a confident grin on her face. She didn't reveal her name to you. I think she just said, "Call me Mr. J like the rest." Or whereas your fixer might have called them your envoy. It's usually what the proper term they use in Kingston for your employer, that it doesn't use their name. They do these meetings with you and arrange a job through recruit runners, and then once it's done, they take the money, give it to them. They try to skim a little bit off the top so they can keep some for themselves or help pay for cleanup costs and make a profit off the whole thing. And that's kind of how most of these jobs are done in the Shadows. So that's how your last job was done, but you have an opportunity now to decide to go back on the deal, I guess. Renege. Who's leading that discussion? I'm interested to know, and I guess, and what's being said.
Well, did we know, you'd said that now we know what it is. Do we know what it is we actually have?
You know that it carries an odd warmth. When you picked it up, and when you opened the case, you felt it, like that there was like almost like a heater came on and is blowing in your face. Then I think you also noticed that the metal was weathered with age and polished to an ultra smooth kind of look. I might even have a picture for that. I'll try to pull that up for our stream so they can see. It's a little tricky while I'm trying to narrate, but I'll try to do it.
Is there anything more that we know about it?
Well, so they described it as an artifact, right? They said that it was stolen from them. You'll know it when you see it, and you did. I don't want to bore the audience with a full regaling of what happened last session, but I will say this. They dropped in on a cargo ship, pirated it very slickly, with like did an underhanded kind of like, we're controlling the situation by pretending to be authorities, and then managed to slip the case that contained this artifact away, and then in the confusion of a technomancy attack, managed to make their escape, and also a bit of deception from the other runners and physical activity there. So they managed to get away and escape with the artifact. We're not sure what happened to the crew of the ship, although we do see some kind of like writhing in the water in pain, and perhaps they die. But there are survivors, and it's an incomplete disposal of the people that saw what happened on that ship. Worse
Totally.
yet, you stirred up spirits before you left, and then sprites, machine sprites, and things, and then this kind of goes against your whole purpose, right? Like, this is like the whole opposite of what you set out to do. But you did pull off the thing where you stopped someone from getting this artifact and misusing it. So perhaps there's a silver lining there, and you're talking about the good with the bad or something, to start this out.
I mean, we made the e-ghosts a little happier. Like, we gave them a playground for a few minutes and some extra friends. Like, I don't know really how that's a wrong thing. Well, not at all.
But one of you's already gotten the message from the envoy seeking response. I think they're like, I heard something went down in the bay. We good?
Well, I think we're going to try and get a little more information on this. Like, if there's anything that we can learn about what exactly this artifact is and what it does.
Does it have a history?
Because we didn't really go. Does it that we know? Does it have some when Jensen peers into the astral? Does he see anything about the artifact? Does he gain any information on the magical elements of the artifact?
Oh, of course. If you open your senses and hold that thing, you've sensed it right away that it had still some power. But
right.
Whereas most artifacts, when you open your senses and you see like a revelation of like a symbol pointing this way, and then like another one going this way with a whole hook that you can grab and like maybe do some gestures or some phrases to manipulate those. In this case, what you see are blurred, muddled, like endpoints of like vertices that don't end. And then you see like fragmented, crazy symbols, like all intertwined together and stacked. And some of them predate any language you've ever seen, and others are like modern speech, like intertwined with wizard speak. Yeah, it looks like that. So you could look deeper, but you know that if you do that,
oh yeah,
you're going to open yourself to an ancient force or power as you examine it, and it may examine you back.
One thing we didn't touch on is about our crew is we're the task force for astral preservation. That's our radical. That's our radical cause. Is we're trying to save the astral from degradation around Kingston.
Oh, sure, you call yourself
care.
that.
Well, yeah. So
your official agency. Is that what we want to say? Some kind of small-time official agency, like little side operation that they're keeping off the books or something.
No, I think that we're just that's who we decided we are. Like, because I think what we discussed before was we're like a splinter group of another group that wasn't doing enough. Decided we were going to do the enough. So yeah.
All right.
And we still have a contact with the Astral Preservation Society.
Yep.
That's Hawkins, a historian. He seems especially relevant at the moment.
Yeah,
right.
I think we should check with him. Definitely.
Yeah, your runners would have known to do that. Let's just say they've already done that, and your fixer is kind of awaiting your description. And are they in the room? Did we say that they like to meet with you in person, or are they on a comm, some kind of device that we can see kind of just sitting on the table?
Is our fixer Hawkins? I forget, or was that somebody else?
They're your
Yeah, that's
favorite
our
contact
fixer.
and fixer. Hmm.
Okay.
Well, I think we for the initial run, we kept them at arm's reach. So I don't know if we would have changed that because we got the item. I mean, maybe. I mean, the item, it does kind of raise a lot of questions. So we're probably like, we don't know what this is. So maybe we invited them over. But I remember we initially kept them at arm's reach.
I think in this case we might have brought him over just to say, hey, this is what we retrieved.
What can you assess from this? Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, good. Okay. So my thought here is that they can. They're. Are they? Oh, so is. I'm not going to leave this up to me. I'm going to ask you, Piz players. Is Hawkins also magically active or or emergent in some way? Yeah. Or are they just write the mundane historian?
At the very least, I think they've been affected by something magical, which is why they have this cause in our fixer. They've crossed paths with it, bare minimum,
Ooh, like they've lost something to magic or gained something
or
to
someone.
it.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds good. So I think maybe not magically active. They're very
Like,
much historian. That's their whole focus,
yeah.
particularly when it comes to like artifacts and magical issues.
Oh, well, that's the
They're
problem.
highly knowledgeable.
Yeah, that's the problem. They're highly knowledgeable, but they don't have any powers to deal with what they find out. And
Right.
it's kind of like Cthulhu, right? Like sometimes the knowledge is too corrupting to the brain, and it causes something bad to happen. Or at least
Arguably,
that's what they think
maybe
happened.
that's why that's why he likes us, because we're all the magical people. So there's a symbiotic relationship between us and him. We can do the things he can't.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's go with that. I'm gonna think about what they might know. So how this would go is they're gonna be like, "So have you looked it over?" And Hawkins just kind of like crosses their legs and sits back, kind of like apprehensive.
And Jensen kind of lays his huge hands on the table to either side of the artifact and just looks at Hawkins and says, I've peered into it, and there's many strange things going on. Many old symbols. I could look deeper, but I'm concerned about doing so.
All right, I'm picturing Hawkins as a fair-skinned male, and Hawkins has like one of these like tweed jackets on, and it's over like a collared shirt that's sort of like it's sort of half popped. They don't look like super proper today. They look like they've rushed over and they fixed their collar. All right, they fixed their collar and they're like, well, if you've seen that, then you must know that I wouldn't spend too much time looking at it. He says, I think the scales are indicative of something I've read about before. He says, it's a family of artifacts, however. And it was not confirmed what their true form was. There's rumors of a hat of some kind, like a crown, and a cape, sort of a regalia that goes with they call it a staff in the text I have. He goes, oh. He puts on some of these like thin glasses that have like infrared lenses in there, but he like turns those off and it's like apparently he was running around in the dark lately, and he puts on the illuminating parts, and we see like the text like kind of reflected in this thing as he pulls out his tablet, and he starts to like swipe through and try to pull something. He goes, check this out. and he hits a share button or something, and it syncs it up to you, to your comms, and you can see this like torn page. It's like a scan of a torn page, but it's rotating in like 3D space, like in a holographic form, so that you can see all angles. And it's appears to be like a torn piece of a scroll, and it's been like placed back together, sort of like the Voynich manuscript or whatever. And it's got one symbol on it that you recognize, kind of like hand scrawled on it, in a different handwriting from the rest. And you notice that Hawkins is talking about all this like the body of text and not the scrawling on the side. And he's just like, yeah, you see here, they call it a staff, and that it was quite large, like as tall as a person. This can't be it. And you see that it's like, like that long. Maybe it's, like it would be suitable for a baby, or something.
People were much shorter back then.
Yes, but I think maybe what's interesting is that Hawkins kind of sensed that you're trying to, like, there's like a little bit like, maybe it's, and then he says, this is not an item of our time. It seems that it may change shape over time as well. Or perhaps the people have changed shape. The ancients were varied in their type, and only some of those have resurfaced in the modern era, such as yourself. And I think he's kind of like, looks like he laments the recurring bits, but he also looks like he's dreaming about whatever held this item. And so he kind of, his eyes kind of glaze over, and I think we see a picture in his mind of a 3-foot tall semi-humanoid being with like with all 3 items on, right? They've got like a crown, they've got this cape with a furry lining, and the back of the cape is black, and we see stars through it. And they just kind of do this with the cape, we see from behind, and then they put their hand out and put the cane down onto like a granite surface or something. And they're like in a large chamber. We can hear it like echo off of some large chamber they're in, and they just start to intonate in strange tones words that aren't English, that aren't any language that's ever been spoken by mortals in the modern day. And they just kind of swirl the cane around, and we see the face like of a smoky dragon like appear before them, and then like inhale them, and then the vision disappears. Basically, it's me as a GM telling you that it's going to really suck if you screw this roll up, because you'll attract the attention of basically a dragon or something, or maybe like a dragon cult member that's looking for the item, that kind of thing.
Jensen kind of frowns at the whole your type comment, but doesn't push back on it.
Yeah, it's kind of common
glances at
for people to point that out.
Right. He glances at Emerald and Hammer to see if they have anything to add to the conversation.
Well, we were paid to bring this artifact, and our employer expects us to follow through with it. Seeing what it is, I think that we need to know a little bit more before we let go of it. Is this something that is okay to go back to a museum, or should it be destroyed, or is it not something to worry about? I think that's what we're looking for here.
Oh yeah.
Gen-
I think what happens here is Hawkins looks at you and measures their words carefully. He says, "Hammer, it's not something that should go to the wrong hands, and museums aren't always the most secure. The larger Astral Preservation Society of Kingston would be perhaps the best to deal with it, but we have no deal made out with them." He says, "For this item, it's been paid for, so to speak.
Indeed.
If you don't give it to the Mannings, whoever wanted it will be very upset. I'm sure it's not for them."
Can it even be destroyed?
The Mannings are the Cuban mafia family, so for the audience sake. Yeah.
Well, I think that we should
Of
do the
course, the
job.
Mannings
But
don't.
if it's dangerous, then we should destroy it.
But is that even an option to even have it destroyed? Is the best that can be is buried or something?
All right, our girl's French.
Mm. Well, the Mannings don't know that we retrieved it. For all they know, it's on the bottom of the bay with that ship. So we do have a little bit of leeway in how we respond. Will be a mark against us if we've lost it or refused to turn it over.
Lost.
I'd prefer to have lost the item.
Yeah, that would
be
definitely
the
be the least problematic
best option
for
when
you dying.
So we're going to get some answers by peering inside, or what?
Mm.
Or do we get them out of it?
I think Hawkins hasn't realized that you haven't fully examined it to the level of like you kind of told him you saw the symbols. He thinks you've like tried to read them and didn't come back with an answer yet. So I think he's just like, "Oh, you've probably looked as much as you can, right?"
Not yet. It's extremely powerful and very old. If I look deeper, there's a chance that something might notice me.
Something?
Oh, he says,
Like what?
sadly.
I can certainly try. So I think Jensen flexes and then
Like physically
does some
metaphysically.
mystical handwork and stuff. Yeah, and then his eyes go white. I think as he stares at it, he's peering into the astral, and I think that's a thing that happens with magicians is when they peer into the astral, their eyes sort of turn white. And maybe there's even a whole thing around that, like magicians tend to wear sunglasses so that people can't tell when they're trying to astrally perceive them.
Mm-hmm.
But so he does this, and we're gonna look as deep as we can here. We're gonna follow the threads in the threads in.
Okay.
I think
okay.
Jensen's also concerned that if we destroy this, it could cause astral damage.
Yeah, you don't think you'll destroy it. Although you've heard of rumors of like it by, stay at an artifact too hard and you get drawn into it, and then your will can kind of crack the artifact by virtue of being incapable of wielding it and it overtaking your mind and telling you to grab it. But
Oh, good.
we don't think that's the case here. I think the risk that you're looking at looking at is that something else sees you, right? That there's something else looking into the mirror of astral energies, just waiting for a pass by, a glimmer of any of the three of these items. And they've heard ones in the area, and so there's cultists like swaying, doing this, you know.
Right. Well, we're gonna go for this still. I think I'm gonna sense here.
Okay.
I'll have
All
to-
right.
I'll
So
have to do
there's
this as
that
a
risk.
purple
How much?
fortune.
What question are you asking?
I guess we're going into the artifact just to see if we can find out what it does or how it's
What is it supposed to be? What is it supposed to do?
Well,
What
yeah,
is its purpose?
what is it
Right.
used for? Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, you can find out enough to research that just with like a risky roll. But if you want to find out the answer of kind of like at least one of its purposes, right? Like some function that you can actionably use or something like that, that's desperate.
Yeah. We'll go desperate. I'll take the experience point. Do you have a devil's bargain for me?
I do. In this game, we call them Dragon's Deals, but it's not really much different, right? Same difference. We give you a bonus die when your runner does something that's fun for us to, say that might help, even if it's negative for them. So let's see. In this case, ooh, you got something. How about this? No matter what, someone in the circle of chanting will pick up on the fact that the artifacts in the city, which would increase heat, that would add in heat, and you can get a bonus die for that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm into that. So
Yeah,
someone with the heat on the
I'll
sheet.
take it.
Yeah, I'll give you a plus 1d.
I'm gonna-
As you'll use that to kind of tap into their consciousness and gain more information about what it is. Like maybe you'll see a memory
Okay.
of theirs by allowing that.
All right, here we go.
Oh, you're doing it in 20? Okay.
Oh yes, yeah. Roll 20. I could have rolled here, but I'm happy with that. I got a 652. So.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll just show that to the stream. Yeah, it's a good roll. So you get the info. We said that the consequence was that some of these chanting cultist members in another area of the city, they get some kind of one of them's thinking about a memory of their research of this item, and they heard that the item is used. They like that if you held it and that you said the correct word, that it would do a thing. And then as you sense in deep in there, looking at the various symbols and configurations, they begin to kind of align and form a phrase that you recognize some call the language Latin, just like wizard swears, or blather speak. So it's like a word like that. I'm interested to see what you as players think that might be. Maybe it's it's a word that to us doesn't mean anything magical, or maybe it's something really like abracadabra, obvious. It's a magical phrase. But you say this phrase, and you will gain additional astral awareness over dragons.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And other powerful magical beings. So, like, for example, a powerful spirit. This will allow you to gain some sympathy on those nearby, even though you have never encountered those entities before. So sympathy is
Wow.
something you build with things that
so-
you know well,
yeah.
and so this would allow you to like know someone that you've never really encountered better than you should.
Okay. Oof. So Jensen comes out of his trance and grabs a staff piece and puts it back in the box and slams the cover shut and says, "There's simply no way that we can give this to the Mannings. It would hand them far too much power. And they're honestly no better than the corpse."
Right. Yeah, Hawkins is probably mulling this over. He says, so it's going to be a double cross then. I can help with this. I'll need to pull some strings to kind of keep the heat off of you. His comm goes off. He looks down at his comm, and a bead of sweat forms on his forehead. I think we, the audience, get a view of what is on his comm. It's a threatening message saying, like, we got to change the meeting time to later tonight. And it says, like, don't forget Beth. And when he reads the word Beth, his eyes fill up with tears. And when we see an image, we see a memory of him standing next to a young girl who's clearly his daughter. And him, like, giving them to a family. And then him, like, turning away and looking over his shoulder regretfully and holding, like, a stack of tablets. Looks like he's had to give his kid up to, like, devote his life to something. And this gangster or whatever on the other line has threatened him just now, threatened his kid, who's in protective somewhere else, you know? So yeah, he looks down at his phone. This is the entanglement from the run that you guys did before. Okay? Your
Right.
fixer's in a tough spot. I think they probably said something. They probably would say something, right? You don't withhold information from your crew, right?
Right.
Not when it's potentially like this.
I think.
Yeah. So this is a reprisal. Reprisal is an entanglement that you could. An enemy faction has made a move against you, or a friend, or a contact. In this case, it's your contact. And then I think what it is that he's paying bounties, or paying like hush money. Yeah, he's like paying hush money, and so he's done some improprieties, and he's paying yen, sometimes devoting his time towards this. And he just kind of looks up and he's like, also, I have a matter to attend to. He says, I'm gonna need to liquidate a few things. And he says, hold on a moment. And he does like a little for completion of an online sale. Yeah. Okay. That's two. He doesn't have the money on him. And the sales sales fall through, basically. He gets lower bids than he thought. One of the items ended up having a defect. So he's like, oh, seems to have a bit of an issue. This is the Mannings are holding something over my head. I haven't wanted to talk about it before, but this is what I meant why I didn't want to go to the restaurant myself. And he's referring to the meet you had before when you went to this tree restaurant, the Halfway Tree, popular meeting location for runners. I think that's a good place for us to cut, is where he says they're holding something over me, and then another message comes in that says, she's right here, referring to Beth, his daughter. And we see him kind of he stops mid-sentence and just kind of goes, "Ah."
Oh boy.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as maybe
Sweet.
as a good spot to take our break. We take about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right,
Sounds good.
stay tuned,
Yeah.
folks. We'll be back soon.